One thing that we noticed after we had shot the video, uploaded it to YouTube, and edited it was that some of the audio was a little uneven, especially the dialogue, which was a little hard to hear. So what we're about to show you is the process through which we downloaded the video, edited it in Audacity, and then rejoined the audio to the video in a program called Avi Mux. I may have pronounced that incorrectly. Through our use of free open source software, we were able to clean up the audio significantly and make it intelligible. So here we go, starting at the beginning. We went into our video manager and we have to download the video. So here's how we did it. You just right click on it, click download MP4, and shortly it'll be on your hard drive. Okay, once you have it downloaded, you just need to open it in Audacity. And before we do this, actually let's edit it out. But open it in Audacity, and if it's an MP4 file, as you can find on YouTube, you should be able to just open it in here. Now, you have to have something called an FFmpeg library installed for it to import it, but that should be pretty straightforward, and you can find it in the help. So here you see the waveform. This is what the audio looks like. And those really steep lines are where the explosions were and other sound effects. And these low spots here, these very quiet things, these are the dialogue. So what we want to do is bring this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate these on a new track. And I did that pretty quickly, but you can watch me do it again as I do it to these subsequent dialogue bits. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to add a new track and paste it. And I'll do these for the other bits of audio too. Okay, that should be the bulk of the dialogue. So if you want, you can listen to it to see how it sounds. Or you can just use your eyes, as I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm just going to compress these tracks. And that's an audio term for basically just leveling out the sound. And when you do effect and compressor, which is what I'm doing here, you'll see that there are a few switches and dials and knobs to change, and it's kind of technical. If you really want to just make it level, there's also a feature called the leveler. Sorry about that. And you can find that in the effects menu as well, and I'll be showing that later on. It's really helpful for just getting a consistent audio level. before I do that, I'm just going to merge all our dialogue so we can have it in a single track. So we'll have our main track and then our dialogue track. So right now I'm just trying to select all 4 of these tracks, the bottom ones, so that I can then combine them into a single track. And there we go. I went to Tracks, Mix, and Render. And there we go, 2 tracks. Now what I'm going to do now is something called auto ducking. This is really cool. What this will do is make the background noise quieter just when dialogue occurs. It's going to do this by comparing the 2 tracks. And when there are spikes in the second track, which is the dialogue, the first track, which is everything, the background, etc., will get quieter, so that the dialogue will then be slightly more intelligible. Okay, wow. There we go. Now the last thing I'm going to do, while I still have 2 tracks, is combine them together by going to Tracks, Mix, and Render. And here I'm going to do Normalize, which won't do a lot, actually. Leveler. This is what I was talking about earlier. This will help bring everything to a more balanced level by taking an average across the entire timeline. If I zoom in, you can see the audio in a little more detail. And I'm listening back a little bit so you can hear that it sounds pretty consistent throughout. It's a lot better than it was. At the moment, one of the current weaknesses with the YouTube video editor is that it doesn't really add any audio editing capabilities. So for now, we have to use this kind of workaround, but okay, so notice here, the outro music is still pretty quiet. So what I'm going to do is select it, and I'm going to try and make this level again. Didn't really work. So I'm going to do a little bit of tinkering here. This might be a little boring, so I might fast forward this, just to try and get the volume to be a little different and more balanced. So I'm using an effect called Amplify, which you can use to raise volume and lower volume when you go into the negatives, actually. But right now I'm just trying to make it louder. But I would really like to make that little spike in the middle right before the volume goes up, flatten a little bit. So I'm going to try the leveler again. Okay, not bad. But I want to get rid of that spike right there, because that's really jarring when you listen to it. So I'm going to make it a little quieter. There you go, with some negative amplitude, and there we go. Okay. Is this good? I think so. Okay. So the next step is to export it so we can actually combine it in the movie. So we're just going to save it as a WAV file. I'm going to save it as Moving Film Audacity cleaned up, so I'll remember what it is. 16-bit is great. No need to do any of this, just click OK, and we have it. So I'm going to open the program I talked about earlier called Avi Demux. It's called that because, well, I'll tell you later. But what we need to do first is drag the video in here, open it. We need to disable its built-in audio track. We do that by unchecking that. Now we need to add our configured and cleaned up audio track. And I saved it on my desktop. Okay. If we get static, we'd probably want to change that, but we'll listen to it and see if it sounds okay. I edited that part out. Anyway, let's test it out, see how it goes. Okay, sounds great. Sounds like the trade just went through. You can mess around with the output format, but in this particular scenario, you should be fine with the built-in settings. Okay, that's how we want it. Just checking the audio tracks again. Make sure that it's referring to the file we just made in Audacity. Here I'm going to click on save now. Just save, and I'm going to give it a pretty descriptive file name. Moving film post AviDMux. Click save. It's going to tell us what kind of format it's going to be. This looks fine. I think YouTube will accept this just fine. It's H.264 and PCM audio. It's a little jargony, but might mean something to one of our listeners. Who knows? I'm going to test it out, see how it looks, and sounds most importantly. Alright, perfect. So, here's what we did, just in sum. So here's a quick summary of what we did. We went into the YouTube video editor, downloaded the MP4 from YouTube. We opened the MP4 file in Audacity and edited just the audio so that we can make the dialogue a little more intelligible. We then saved that as a WAV file only, and we recombined it with the original video file in another open source software program called AviDMux. I'll put links to these in the comments page for this YouTube. I'll make sure to include links to both of these so that you can find them when you're hoping to do your own editing. So, good luck.